Meanwhile, comes word that the White House is considering yet another Obamacare mandate delay. The administration in the process now, they say, of deciding if people with plans that it deems substandard can keep those plans not for 1 year, but for the next 3 years without being kicked off. So what does this one mean? Republican Congressman Trey Gowdy of South Carolina joins us now. Congressman, good to see you. You know, they've had more than half a dozen delays and extensions so far. Is this latest a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, how would you like to run for re-election if you were in the House and the Senate based on Obamacare with its rising premiums, worse coverage, and now we're trying to convince you that you're better off writing poetry than you are working and getting money? I certainly wouldn't want to defend that in the midterm election. So my guess is they're going to delay it until there's a new president or hopefully a new Senate and we can start all over again. Yeah,
they talk about 2016. I mean, isn't that a coincidence? 2016, there's a presidential election there. Do we know if they're delaying it to January 2016 or December of 2016?
There are very few coincidences in politics. But, Eric, I want you to note the irony that the president is seeking to delay his signature piece of legislation. What else has he accomplished since he's been president? Except Obamacare. That's what he put all of his marbles on, Obamacare, and now he wants to delay it until there's another president. If you need any more evidence, or smidgen of evidence to use his word, if you need any more evidence how disastrous this health care law is, the architect doesn't even want to implement it.
Well, he did kill bin Laden. And let's talk about the White House for a second. I mean, they obviously support this. They say 13 million people are covered. I mean, there are people who don't have insurance who now, thankfully, will be covered. So what do you say to the supporters of the program that say it works, it's needed, and it'll all work out?
There's a much better way to accomplish it. Yeah, my goal is for each individual to own their own health care, own health insurance, for it to be portable, and for you to have protections against pre-existing conditions. There's a way to accomplish that without impacting jobs, without impacting premiums and coverage. I wish the health care law would say a word about tort reform. This one does not. So we agree on the overarching goals, access to health insurance and access to health care. This is not the way to do it, as evidenced by the fact that there are 1,000 waivers and exemptions, and the architect of this law doesn't even want to implement it. He keeps delaying it, not going to Congress.
Well, yeah, but Congress is not going to be able to do this with the Senate. You know, how do they get there, and what can be done then, in your view, to make it work?
Change the Senate. I mean, that's the only way it can be done. I know the president says he has a pen and a phone, but he's had that same pen and a phone for 5 years, and he doesn't want to implement his own law. If you want to change the way Washington is working, you have to change who you send there. And this experiment in divided government hasn't worked. So our fellow citizens have a chance in November. They can throw us out and give Nancy Pelosi back the Speaker's gavel, or they can give us the Senate and give us a chance to govern again, and hopefully we'll do so more constructively. But this experiment in divided government is leading to lawlessness. I mean, the president's talking about not enforcing the law for 3 years. I could cite 4 laws he's already not enforcing now.
Well, you know, they say it's going to work out, but there was a pretty scathing editorial in the Investor's Business Daily. Let me show it to you now. This was just a couple of weeks ago, and already some of it seems to be coming true. Obamacare's problems are likely to get worse this year, they say, not better, as millions who get insurance at work find their policies canceled or their premiums skyrocketing once employers have to comply with Obamacare's mandate. There's also the coming wave of stories about companies cutting hours and eliminating jobs to minimize the huge Obamacare hit. Is that fair? I mean, look, this was in January, and already now we've got this CBO report.
Yeah, I mean, the CBO is the gold standard for Republicans and Democrats. And what the CBO is saying is that you're going to lose an incentive to work. And what the liberals and the Democrats want you to believe is, well, but you'll have more time to write poetry. And you can sit around and figure out whether infinity is a number or just a concept. Well, that's great until you try to go buy your grandkid a birthday present or you try to pay the heating bill. Go give your interpretation of a poem to the clerk. They're going to want money. And when you have a built-in incentive to work less, which the CBO confirmed, you know, the president said there's no evidence that this is harming economic growth. There's overwhelming evidence that it's impacting economic growth, which is why Democrats are pressuring him to postpone the law. His law is so bad, his own party doesn't want to run on it in November.
And bottom line, Congressman, quickly, what's your prediction?
My prediction is that my fellow citizens are going to say, you know what, Mr. President, we gave you the gears of government. You gave us Obamacare. We're going to start over in November. We'll give the Republicans a chance to lead the country.
All right, Congressman Trey Gowdy, certainly it's the #1 issue, and they're considering yet another delay. We thank you so much for joining us with your analysis this morning.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Jamie?